if we start to move towards love in the subject of marriage and intimacy, we're having something that moves us to a place where we want to be. We want to be in love. We don't want to be in fear. Because that's what kills. Every marriage I've ever heard of has been killed by fear.
Hello, and welcome back to Retrieving Sanity with your podcast host, Keegan, and this is your podcast for all mental health, addiction, recovery issues, and topics. And I've got some questions for you real quick. Have you ever felt stuck in a relationship that felt hopeless, where love seemed to vanish and the only thing left was pain? Well, my guest today is Larry Bilotta, is a person that helps people save marriages, and it's some pretty interesting stuff. And he's got a new book out as well, and it is titled This Is Not the Woman That I Married?
Yes, this is not the woman I married. Yes.
Alrighty. So, with that being said, Larry, why don't you tell us all about yourself? Like, where are you from? What's your background like? And what got you into writing that book and helping people save marriages?
So it doesn't start with me in college. Okay, I don't go to college. So I skipped college.
Okay.
With college out of the way, I had to. This is back in the 70s. The year they impeached Richard Nixon, I married Marcia.
Okay.
And when I married Marcia is, and I don't know this, she's the strongest, toughest woman in the world. And that means she's going to be governing everything. She's going to wear the pants in the family. Okay. Now I'm soft-hearted. She's hard-natured. I didn't know that at the time.
Gotcha.
But she's going to be in charge. And so our 40-year path began with my first part of my story. I lived 27 years in a marriage made in hell. Now, why was it 27 years? Because they impeached Richard Nixon in 1974. And then I lived through that all the way till the second Bush arrived. And that's how long that was. 27 years of that.
Yeah.
Right? And so in that time, what I had to do is I had to realize I had to go through this marriage. It was going to be very, very hard. But I had to learn something here. And so what I was going to do is I was going to teach myself. And this is something that I decided in my mind. I've got to teach myself because she is stronger than me in every way you can imagine. She's got a louder yell, a harder punch. She's got she's just stronger. And I didn't have any of that. And so I thought, well, what is the only thing I can do? I can learn. I can learn through this. And because I'm going to learn through this is my time to learn. What made me want to learn is she kept me motivated. And that's why today I call the woman you marry the pain provider. And why is she called the pain provider? Because she's the woman who goes into a midlife crisis and she becomes very, very hard to deal with once she's in a midlife crisis.
Gotcha.
So as a midlife crisis woman, now Marcia was not a midlife crisis woman, she was just a very strong woman. And because she was so strong, she was really unrelenting and she would not let up any moment. In other words, she never became soft at any point in time. She never get, well, it's because it was Friday and it was late and he was tired and I understand. She was never like that. Never, ever like that, right? So she was always taking the hard line on everything. And so I was learning because I would take yellow pads of legal paper and I would write what I was learning. I was write it out, right? And so what I was writing was what I did, what she did, what I said, what she said, what the confusion was, or what the anger was, what the accusation was. So whatever it was, I would write it out. And I would start to discover that there was things I was learning that I could do to change my emotions. I could change how I felt. And when I changed how I felt, I started to learn things. And so what this ended up in the 27 years did is that I ended up developing a course for myself. And so the course for myself was, how do I love myself? That's actually what my course was. I was teaching myself how to love myself. That's what I did. So my story is, I lived 27 years in a marriage made in hell, but in the 28th year, I fell in love with my wife. But what I actually did is I fell in love with myself, and then I was able to love my wife. And when I loved my wife, I was able to give her a completely different message because my feelings were different.
Yeah.
And because I felt different, she felt different. And so she reacted differently, not as threatened and not as cornered and not as fierce and not as mean. All right. So that was the story of what I had to get through.
Okay.
And so Richard Nixon to the second Bush, that's how long it took. And so that's the time when I finally loved and respected myself. And when I was doing that, and by the way, I didn't call it that to myself. I didn't say, I love and respect myself. Today is the day. You know,
Yeah.
there was no instant sudden change at all.
Yeah.
It was like a gradual thing that happens like time does. You know, it's very gradual, and you can't really separate all the parts. So that was the job. The job was to love myself. And so now I teach an idea called the energy train. It's an energy train that has 7 cars, and the 7 cars are my mood, my attitude, my feelings, my sensitivity, my energy, my frequencies, and my vibrations. Now those words are all something we're all familiar with.
Yeah.
We kind of don't know what the energy of frequencies and all that is, vibrations, right? But we know what mood and attitude is, right?
Yeah.
So when we put all those together, what we say is the energy train carries the emotion you're feeling. Everything you think, everything you believe, everything you feel, every mood, every subconscious message, it's all loaded onto the train every day, every instant of every day. And it goes out and it reaches the person you marry.
Yeah.
And it unloads the emotion that's on the train. And that means that she feels everything you feel, or he feels everything you feel. And so you really can't hide anything because the train is carrying everything. And it's unloading everything freely. And so because the energy train exists, we now have to ask the question, in the last 3 weeks of my life, what's my train been carrying? And so now you start to think, whoa, gee, what has my train been carrying? Like, well, anxiety, fear, and doubt, and worry, and uncertainty, right? And whatever my makeup of those emotions is. And so because those emotions can be very negative, and you can have them a lot, and you can be living with them, accepting them all the time. But when you start to realize there's a train, it's going out, and everything's being delivered. And I can't stop the train. Nobody can stop the train from being delivered. So now I have to change. How do I change the energy on my train? Becomes the real big question. And that was my question back in the 70s. How do I change? I didn't call it a train at the time, but the feelings were going out there. She was feeling everything I was feeling.
Yeah.
And so what happens when a wife or a husband is receiving your energy train? What's happening? Well, that it comes in, it unloads, and they feel it. And when they feel it, they don't really know exactly what's happening. They know something's not right, something's off, something's a little weird, something's suspicious, something's worrisome, right? These are all conclusions that people make when the train unloads. And so that's why you can't hide anything. You can't hide anything. You can't act a certain way. You can't act fake or shallow or hollow. You can't do anything like that because the train's going to deliver everything that all that emotional makeup you have, and it's going to be delivered. And so your emotional makeup is changing depending on what's happening in your world. And so if you're really happy and really upbeat, and that genuine feeling loads the train, now the train delivers a happy, upbeat, exciting person, right? And then the person feels, well, that feels really good. Like I feel real happy. You feel happier. And so what's happening is this train is delivering every single moment of every single day and night. And one of the first people to feel what's on your train are your kids. And so when you had kids, they're the first ones to know because they don't have a filter. They don't have any way to hide what they just received, right? So what happens is if they get like you're a father and the child is feeling the train, what's on the train, and feels bad, and you're going through something and you want to hide it. That's very popular with parents, right? They want to hide their emotions, right? Well, your kids are feeling all the things because the train exists. The train is here. Your mood, your attitude, the cars are carrying the emotion. And so the kids, they feel it. And so when we look at, what's a real popular subject in schools? Bullying, right? That's talked about a lot. And so what is bullying? Like, what is a bully? Well, a bully is a child from parents who are struggling with something. They're literally delivering something that is frustrated, that is angry, that is hurt, that is worried, that is defensive, right? These are all things that are being delivered to the kids who become bullies. And so what happens is the kids are feeling the pent-up rage of the parents. They're feeling it. And now they don't know how to process it. They can't talk about it, right? So there's nothing you can do. So the kids have got to go to school. And when they go to school, what they do is they pick up the energy, the train of the children that are weakest in the school. So kids that are giving off their energy train was, I'm worried, I'm sad, I'm hurt, I'm doubtful, I'm uncertain, right? When they start giving that out, what the bullies do is they go, oh, here's something I can conquer. And they can feel it. And they can feel it.
Yeah.
And so the energy trains are literally exchanging emotions. And that happens in a typical school day. Now, this is not something that a school will ever directly deal with. Because what it means is, I take the bully, I drag the parents to school, and I punish them for what they're doing with their emotions, which a school will never do.
Yeah, no.
A school will never do that, right? But this is just, I bring up the bully thing because the energy train is really the illustration of how the whole delivery system works, and it really does work.
Yeah.
And so the kids are the first people to actually feel what that happens. So I'm talking to men who are, because this is a book for men. I'm talking to men who have a woman who's in a midlife, or what they call a midlife crisis. And the reason she's in a midlife crisis is because she's been abandoned, she's been abused, she's been neglected, and that puts her at the bottom of my scale of 10 to 0.
Yeah.
And that's what's called a chaos kid. So a chaos kid is talking about when you're an adult living in an adult body, you think you're an adult and you're all grown up, but you're not. You're really secretly a child living inside in your mind as a chaos kid. Because you have the chaos in this big vat, this subconscious vat, where all the events of the 55,000 hours, 10 years, 55,000 hours of events are stored there. I mean, can you imagine that's a big, big vat, right? And at the top of the vat is a small glass jar. And the small glass jar is your conscious mind. And that's the difference. So the big vat in the bottom, the small glass jar at the top, and the small glass jar is the conscious mind, where this is what we think, this is what we believe, this is what we say to people, this is what I want, this is what I don't want. That's all conscious mind stuff, right? Yeah. But while we're living in that conscious mind, our subconscious down here, and every once in a while, it surges up with an idea from the childhood. And this is the reason why people act like teenagers, when they're 60 or 40 or whatever, right? They can do some really crazy things. When that subconscious thing comes up, it goes into the conscious mind and starts to mix with the thoughts of the present day life. And you can end up being very, very immature because the subconscious is doing it. And it's kind of embarrassing, actually, when you think about it, right? Yeah. Because we're always trying to keep that away from the general public.
Yeah, for the most part.
So that's all part of the picture of what happens to chaos kids. This is not the woman I married, because when these guys would say this to me, they're really talking about the wife is what I call a normal woman. A normal woman irons her husband's favorite shirt. She makes his favorite dessert. She calls him at work to see how he's doing. Right? She remembers little things about him that he wants to get from the grocery store. Right? That's a normal woman. Right? A chaos kid is not a normal woman. She's not a normal woman because what happens to her is when the subconscious starts roaring up into the conscious mind, she changes her personality. She doesn't have the things a normal woman had. So the guy is witnessing this, and he's going, "Where'd my wife go?" And then they come up with all kinds of slogans like "alien possess my wife" and all these kinds of things. Because the change is so big, so vast, and so absolute. Everything she valued as this other person, she doesn't value anymore. Right? If she cared about charity, doesn't care about charity anymore. If she cared about religion, doesn't care about religion anymore. Right? Start actually doing the opposite. Yeah. That's how big a change it is. And I've been talking to people for 15 years. Wow. And studying this and I've talked thousands of stories of people who have gone through this. Oh, geez. So when the media and the general public talk about midlife crisis, they're really mostly talking about men, and they're talking about men in sports cars, and that's how they're thinking. Yeah, yeah. And so they also put it in a really positive light by saying that midlife is a time of change and times of rethinking and times of realization. Right? They use all these wonderful words to describe the midlife crisis, because midlife is a time of discovery, and all kinds of positive things. But the people who are going through this, they don't buy that stuff. They don't accept it at all.
Yeah.
Because they're looking at a major change. And so imagine for 15 years I've been talking to these people, and I've been talking to these guys, hearing the story about this is not the woman I married. She's not that woman.
Mm-hmm.
And that woman was wonderful. This thing that took over my wife, oh, that's terrible. Right? And they have like terrible things to say about her.
Yeah.
But the thing that I noticed is they all still love their chaos kids. They love them still. They're not giving up. And so that's really what I'm determined to help. I'm determined to help him save the girl who is the chaos kid from her chaos. And so that's really what he's got to do. His job is to heal her chaos. So how does he heal his chaos? And now we got to think about him, because it turns out he's carrying something that she's feeding off of. And so what happens is his emotions are not being governed by him. He's not controlling his emotions. He's not steering his emotions. He doesn't even have he doesn't even have a guide for his emotions.
Yeah.
And so he's stuffing his emotions, and he's doing all these things that we all hear people talk about. And so now he can't stop it. So whatever he's feeling, she's feeling, and now the energy train is here.
Yeah.
Right. And it's unloading his emotions. And so the idea is he's got to get his emotions into a place that he's actually thinking positively and not negatively. And so he's got to change his way of thinking, and that's really where the change starts. The change begins with the way you think.
Okay.
In fact, when we're talking about energy, what you think, what you imagine, and what you believe are really the substance of energy. Because when you think about something, you're thinking about a topic like how to make apple pies. That's a topic.
Yeah.
Okay? How to make apple pies.
Okay.
And so why do you believe an apple pie should be made this way? Well, it's got to be made this way. You got to make these slices this thick, not too thick. Just got to be this thick. And you got to put them all in the plate a certain way. And then you got to put the sugar in, put the bread, and then you got to cut these dough slices, and you got to lay them crisscross so they look really attractive, right? So there's a whole prescription for how to make a really proper apple pie. So that's what I believe. But now I could ask the second question: why do you believe it? Well, because my grandmother raised me. Like, what does that got to do with anything? Well, she's the one who showed me how to make apple pies like this, and they had to be perfect, right? So why do you believe it? I believe it because my grandmother gave it to me. That's why I believe it. So what do you believe and why do you believe it? I use the apple pie analogy because this is the way to make the pie. Grandma said so. Yeah. Right. So when we go into life, you start thinking about, well, what do you believe about? What do you believe about what?
Everything.
What do you believe about any specific thing? What do you believe about golf? I hate the game. Right. What do you believe about golf? I love the game. Right. Right? Yeah. What do you believe about golf? Well, I met a guy who's 94 years old, and he is a guy who is loving golf most of his life. And he started to tell me about how wonderful golf is and how its real value is in committing to relationships and building relationships. So his golf was about competition. It was about skill. It was about camaraderie. It was about connection. It was about loyalty. It was just how he expanded golf was amazing to me. Yeah. And he's 94 years old, and he still drives. Wow. He still drives. So this is a guy who really amazed me. Like, how could you? So when you're really passionate about something, you actually live a long time because that passion keeps you alive. It keeps you going.
Interesting.
But that was an example. What do you believe about golf? I made the simple analogy. What do you believe about pies? And then why do you believe it? So the question is, what do you believe and why do you believe it? That's two separate questions, and you can't answer them suddenly. You have to slow down your thoughts. You have to slow down your pace, and you have to start to think, well, what do I believe about marriage? So if you ask that question to one person, you get an answer like, oh, I think marriage is a sacred vow. You never, ever, right? So you start digging into the idea, what do you believe about marriage? It turns out that marriage is God's thing. God made marriage, right? Like, whoa, oh, I didn't know that. God made marriage. Well, if God made marriage, then you can't cross it. You can't destroy it. You can't cancel it out, right? Because, well, why do you believe that? Well, it turns out in my childhood, my father was a pastor, and he was a fundamentalist uh, evangelical pastor. And he had some very strong ideas about marriage, right? So now this guy marries with this same belief, the belief of his father. Now, he doesn't call it the belief of his father. I have to do some digging to find out that his father was an evangelical pastor. But then I find out that there's a story in there, and there's the dad as this deep believing evangelical pastor who said, you know, God is the author of marriage. And because God's the author of marriage, you never ever cross marriage, you never divorce. Ever. That's the hardest part. And it gets deep, right? It gets deep. What do you believe? Because it was driven into me from the time I was 2.
Yeah.
Right? Well, okay, that makes sense. If he's driven to the time I was 2, right? And so when you ask what you believe and why you believe it, it helps you dig into a lot of things. And you start discovering the source of things just by asking those 2 questions. What do you believe? Why do you believe it? And you can't just flippantly ask it. It's got to slow down and ask it because it's not easy to do. It's not easy to answer that question.
Yeah.
Not easy as the apple pie example.
So the apple pie is a lot easier to kind of take into account because it's something that we do, as in it's more material. It's not a incorporeal.
That's exactly why I picked it, because it's material. It's something we think is physical. But when we're talking about the whole idea of marriage and how you take intimacy, for example. So in this book, in the first chapter, I put the 26 signs that you're losing her heart.
That's hard.
And the 26 signs that you're losing her heart is like kind of gut wrenching if you've already done it.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Because that's what marriage is. Marriage is the heart. Marriage is not a document. Marriage is the heart.
Yeah.
And if you have the heart, you have a marriage. If you don't have the heart, you don't have a marriage.
Yeah.
And so I've seen women who are programmed by their parents, by their mothers or by their fathers, to divorce. And so she's a child of divorce at 2 years old, child of divorce at 4 years old, child of divorce at 6 years old. And it's so whatever the time was, she got a message.
Yeah.
And the message is, if you got a problem in a relationship, you divorce it. That's how you do it.
Yeah.
So it's real easy. This one doesn't work, then try the next one, right? So all that comes from childhood, and that's why when I interview people, I always go right to the first 10 years.
Okay.
But what's happening while I'm asking about the first 10 years, they're wanting to talk to me about today.
Yeah.
They want to talk to me about who just died, who got sick, who broke up, who divorced who, right? They want to talk about what's happening right now, which has nothing to do with anything. It literally has nothing to do with anything, because the childhood is driving all of it. The childhood is making all of it happen. So why don't we go to the childhood first, and let's find out what made this whole mess. And so that's what I'm always doing, and I'm reminding people, let's go to childhood, let's find out the source code for everything that's happening today.
Ooh.
Because that's what is happening. It's happening right now.
So the past is feeding the future in a weird sense of cannibalism of sorts.
Cannibalism. Yes. Okay. Because what's happening is the events of the past are governing the future. And that's a scary thought.
Yeah.
Because what does the man or a woman hate to hear? They hate in marriage. They hate to hear, you're just like your father.
Ooh, yeah. Ooh.
You're just like your mother. They hate that. And the reason they hate that is they're not proud of their mother. They're not proud of their father. If they were, they would be complimented.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
But they're not complimented. And the reason they're not is something kind of dark happened back there.
Yeah. So to address that is to help heal the future, in a sense, correct?
That's really what we're trying to do. We're trying to change the emotion that's riding the train.
Yeah.
Because that's really what everybody needs to move towards. They need to move away from fear and closer to love. And they're not doing that as a way of life. And speaking about life, what's the phrase the world says? Life got in the way. That's their phrase.
Yeah.
Life got in the way. And so when they use the word LIFE, what are they talking about? They're talking about every busy thing that we have to do every day.
Yeah.
Every busy thing. And when you start to list all the things that's every busy thing, you start to you got to walk the dog every day. You got to feed the dog every day. You got to buy dog food every day. right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's just the dog, right? But now if you got a kid, what do you got to do? You got to get them dressed if they're 5 years old. You got to get their shoes on. You got, right? There's things to do, right?
Yeah.
So when you start putting the list together of all the things called life, you start, it got in the way. Now, why did it get in the way? Because those things, those activities were so important to these people that they forgot that we're here to have an intimate relationship. We're here to be connected to each other, to draw closer to each other, to be nicer, to be kinder, to be more forgiving. That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
We're not here to get this kid's shoes or get the right shoes, right?
Yeah.
We're not here to walk the dog and feed the dog the right dog food. We're not here for that.
Yeah.
We're here to be kind to each other, to care about each other, and that's why we're here, right? Well, we forget that.
Yeah.
Because life gets in the way. And what is life? Every one of the thousands of items on the list. And we end up doing that because we think we're stuck in bodies, and we think that because we're stuck in bodies, we have to live here, and we have to deal with physical things. And so physical things are what we think are here. But what's really here is ideas. Ideas are what we have. We have ideas. We really don't have physical things. And quantum physics tells us we don't have physical things. And there's no real things here, right? There's the perception of things. There's the illusion of things. But what we really are doing is we're trying to live in a world where we keep the energy of ideas alive. And so in marriage, the idea is intimacy. That's the top of the goal.
Yeah.
We've got to get the two of us closer. So if we're going to get ourselves closer to each other, we have to think about the ideas of what is kindness, what is forgiveness, what is thoughtfulness, what is warmth, what is clarity, what is beauty, right? We start thinking about the things that make us a more positive person. And when we think those thoughts, we're going to move in that direction. If we don't think those thoughts, because if we have two grand lists, I call the world of fear and the world of love, and there's 25 world of fear words and 25 world of love words. That's like an illustration of the worst things in life, the world of fear, and the best things in life, the world of love, right?
Yeah.
Very simple idea, right? If we start to move towards love in the subject of marriage and intimacy, we're having something that moves us to a place where we want to be. We want to be in love. We don't want to be in fear. Because that's what kills. Every marriage I've ever heard of has been killed by fear.
Yeah.
Every kind of fear you can imagine, but it's all fear. And so it's not a love list that they've been governed by. It's a fear list they've been governed by.
Ooh.
And they just can't get out of it.
Yeah, that's really actually on point, I think, because if anything, no one would want to leave somewhere that they feel safe, right?
That's right.
So
That's right.
yeah, fear would definitely be a driving factor for people wanting to seek divorce, and then if that's ingrained to their pattern recognition or their programming early on, then for sure they're going to go that way. But it's kind of one of those things, like, how do you tell someone that they're going towards fear whenever they think that they're going towards safety?
Well, so what they're going towards safety is they're going to the illusion of something that's safe. And so when we think about fear, I'm encouraging people to make a list of 25 words of fear by going onto the internet and entering the words negative words. When you enter negative words, you will get 1,000 words on the list that the internet gives you. And so from that list of 1,000, which is overwhelming, and there are like 1,000 terrible words, right? You got to pick 25, and you make 25. It's hand-selected words that you relate to.
Okay.
So I have a word a word that's on my fear list called crazy. And the reason it's on there is because I relate to it, because I lived a part of my life where I used to say crazy all the time. I said it so much that people would call me on it and say, why are you always saying like crazy? Why are you always talking about crazy? Right? And then when they said that to me and confronted me, I said, I don't say that. I don't say that. I denied it. I denied it. I didn't even hear myself saying it. That's how lost I was. But so that's why crazy is on my list of fear. Right? So fear has all the words that will take away everything that you value. Everything you value is what you love. And everything you love is in the love list. Everything that hurts you is in the fear list. And so what the idea between the two lists of the world of fear and the world of love is you have to look at the page back and forth and say, I don't want this. I want that. I don't want this. I want that. Well, that's making a choice.
Yeah.
And you're choosing again and again and again every time you look at the list. You glance at the to-do list, you go, ooh, I don't want that. I want this.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't want that. Like the next day, you look at the list again, and what are you doing? Like, I still don't like that list. I still don't want this. I don't want this. I want that.
Yeah.
And so what you're doing is you're literally choosing in your mind again and again. So I did this for about 3 or 4 weeks. When I actually discovered that you can make the 25 fear words and 25 love words. And so I wasn't aware of this at all. But what I had to do at a really difficult time is I had to make some difficult decisions. And when I did, I was making decisions that are part of the love list. They're literally in agreement with the love list. And so I had to make some sacrifices and to compromise some things I didn't want to compromise. And so I was starting to make love decisions and not fear decisions. And like it felt like, wow, how did I do that? So I did it subconsciously, because subconsciously the fear love list teaches you what you want, and you're actually choosing every time you look at it. Because once you stack a bunch of fear words, you're not going to like it. You're not going to like the fear list. It's clearly going to be, I don't want to like it. Yeah. I don't want it. And because it's right next to the love list, you're going to always choose the love list. Yeah. You're going to always choose the list you love. And what are words really? Words are energy containers. Words are energy containers. So a word like value. So value is a set of energies that are all together. And if we stick it in the world of words, the word value is connected with synonyms, like maybe 8 synonyms. Okay. So those 8 synonyms are 8 energies around the value word. And if you take value and put it in the center, you circulate it with all the synonyms, you now have a ball of energy. And that's how these words are not just words that you spell out with the letters. These words are all representative energies, because we didn't have words in the beginning. There was just feelings, right? We just had feelings. We just have emotions, right? So what we're trying to do is we're trying to move to a place where we feel love and don't feel fear. That's really what we're all trying to do. Yeah. We're trying to find some way to do that. And all of us have all these different belief systems. And you know, everybody's saying, well, my belief system is better. So we like find something to argue about. But all of that is being pulled together by the idea of chaos kids and what chaos is. And chaos is built on fear, and fear is in childhood, and childhood is the beginning of the life, and that turns out to be how you end up living. Yeah. Okay. So one thing that I'm kind of hearing is, or not what I'm hearing is what you've said, is that to help heal the marriage, though, the guy has to go back to his childhood to heal himself there, and then from there he can help heal the wife. Is that correct? That's right. So he starts to heal himself. He starts moving to love and away from fear. Because what the guy is doing is he's living in fear most of his life. Why does he go to alcohol? Why does he go to drugs? Fear. Why does he go to all the things, all the habits, all the addictions? Why does he do that? Because he doesn't have anything else but fear. And he's afraid of a lot of things, and he's insecure about a lot of things, because he's living this way. He thinks he's got some way to, hey, we got married and I got the girl, right? And then once I got the girl, what's he do? He treats her the way his father treated his mother. Yeah. Yeah. And when he treats her like the father treated his mother, he doesn't even know he's doing it. Because that's what the subconscious bad is all about. It's about, you know, a system of automatically loading the subconscious into the conscious. Yeah. Right? And that's where your father is stored. All the messages of your father are stored in your subconscious mind. Yeah. Yeah, that would definitely explain the first marriage, right? It's just a big reason why it didn't work out. But it's good to know that it's one of those things that it's something that the person can change. Like, I can change different things about myself to alter the future, in a sense, to paint the future in a way that I would like to see it more favorable, correct? Yes. And what you're seeing, that's why the fear list is so important, connected to the love list. Because they're on the same page. They're in your own handwriting, on the same page. Yeah. And when you hand select those words, and they that's you that makes the list. You can't have somebody give you the fear list and give you the love list. It's got to be your hand chosen off the internet.
Yeah.
And so once you can do that, and once you come up with a hand-picked list, it becomes your list. It's very unique to you, and you feel the personalness of it. And so he's like, "Oh, I really don't want to live the way I did. I don't want that list. Literally represents a lot of the things I used to believe in, a lot of the things I thought felt good, a lot of things that used to give me a high, or just do something for me, something shallow, right? And so I need to live in love, and I need to leave fear. Well, the job of leaving fear and moving to love is not something that's simple, quick, and easy at all, right? And as you can imagine, moving from fear to love is not simple, quick, or easy, right? So since it's not, what am I going to do to break down the steps of moving from love to fear, or from fear to love? I've got to start to see a place where fear exists in a physical way in my own handwriting.
Oh, okay.
That's really what the fear list represents. It represents fear in my world. I see what fear is, and I know what it is because I identified it myself. And that's what the 25 words are. One of my words was crazy. Another one of my words is impossible. For the same reason. I used to say it a lot. And what I was saying, I didn't know I was saying it.
Yeah.
Right? So I was very, very blind to what was coming out of my mouth. I didn't say it. But we need to change our thoughts. And in order to change our thoughts, we have to have a source code. We have to have some thought system that we follow. Something that came before us, something that we can follow and commit to. Because you've got to find a thought system that works for you and that helps you. Because if you don't have a thought system, you're going to be wandering around and you're going to be lost in all kinds of systems.
Yeah.
And that don't have any unity about them. And then Christianity is a very popular thought system, right? Buddhism is a very popular thought system, right? But there's systems. They've got published books. They've got explanations. They've got stories. They've got support systems and people, and they're all working together to the same end, right? All that it makes up a thought system. And so if you don't step into some kind of thought system that you care about, something that you believe in, it kind of doesn't hold you together when you're kind of alone out there in a relationship you don't understand.
Fair enough.
Because that's really what happens when we're trying to live in love, we're trying to have intimacy, we're trying to be in a place where we can have love and kindness and all these wonderful love side things. But what if I grew up and I literally grew up in fear?
Yeah.
What if my mother and father literally grew up and they lived in fear?
Yeah.
I had a guy tell me just a week ago, he said, my mother was scared of a lot of things. The reason I didn't learn to swim is because my mother was really afraid of me drowning.
Oh, no.
Right?
Yeah.
And so his father was an adventurer and a surfer, and his mother was afraid of everything.
Yeah.
And so that mother governed his future. And so now once you realize, these subconscious beliefs are my mother's beliefs. Why do I believe this? Because my mother believed it.
Yeah.
And so now I can ask, what do you believe and why do you believe it? Right? That's the apple pie example. What do you believe about apple pie and why do you believe it? Right? That's really what we're asking with the two-part question. What do you believe and why do you believe it?
One of the things that I kind of imagine with the fear and love list is where those things on the internet that I've seen where it's like this quality of character kills this quality of character, right? And so like I think it's somewhere similar. It's like the negative kills this positive aspect, and then if you read it in reverse, it's like this positive aspect kills the negative aspect. It kind of like neutralizes each other. And so I guess it is all about where you're wanting your intentions to go, but choosing your own personalized list like that is very powerful. You've got one book out. Is that the only one?
So I have 3 books. If you look on Amazon, Larry Bilotta has 3 books.
Okay. So is there a website that you'd like to send people to?
So there's 2 sites. YouCanSaveThisMarriage.com.
Okay.
Is like the overview of what I'm doing with people. And then LarryBilotta.com is where my other topics are. I have a lot of articles, a lot of videos, a lot of free stuff out there.
Gotcha.
Covering a lot of these topics.
Awesome. Well, with that being said, do you think that you're up for our little game show segment for this evening?
Yes.
All
right. I love the idea of a game show.
All right, Larry. So with that being said, we've got a little game show for you called Chaos or Clarity. I'm going to throw out a few real-life relationship scenarios, and you tell us whether what's happening is pure chaos or actually a hidden moment of clarity and why. Are you ready?
Okay. All right.
All right. Number 1, your spouse says the words, "I love you, but I'm not in love with you anymore."
Okay. All right. That's a moment of clarity.
Moment of clarity? Okay.
Yes. But it could also be interpreted as chaos if you're not ready to learn. If you're not ready to learn, then it'll drive you into chaos. If you are ready to learn, it's a moment of clarity. And so for the men I'm thinking about, the clarity is going to happen when he realizes, oh, I've been an idiot. I shouldn't have treated her this way. That's why I would say it's clarity first. But a guy who's not ready to realize what he did and the mistakes he made, he's not ready to do that. So now it's a moment of chaos.
Yeah.
Because he's now going to dwell on, oh my God, I can't move.
Yeah. That's pretty intense. But number 2, you notice your partner suddenly changing their routines, their style, or interests out of nowhere.
All right, that's first going to be chaos.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and the reason it's chaos is because when the average man has that situation happen, he doesn't get suspicious. He just starts reinterpreting what he thinks it means. And he starts to come up with different meanings. Well, it's because she did this, and because her father died. It's because she's sick. It's because she's going through menopause. It's because, right?
Yeah.
So that would be chaos, which he'd be reacting to chaos like, oh, I'm upset because, and then he comes up with all chaotic reasons. But clarity would not happen until he started to realize that this is not happening because of anything I'm doing. This is happening through something that she's going through. And then if he starts to realize that childhood makes marriage be what it is, he's going to realize, hey, I think this is a childhood thing happening. And that would be a moment of clarity then.
Gotcha.
So it would start as chaos and become clarity.
Oh, okay. So it's almost a pattern somewhere. If number 3 turns out to be the same, we'll call it a pattern.
Okay.
So in this scenario, an argument ends when another partner is walking away saying, "This is pointless. Nothing will ever change."
All right. So the first reaction is going to be chaos.
Okay.
Because that's a statement that's designed to create frustration. So if a woman says that, she's going to create frustration in the man because he's going to feel like a failure. And what a man never wants is he never wants to feel like a failure. And that's a failure. This is a man failure statement that you mentioned.
Boy.
So that's going to create immediate chaos. But then again, when we think about what does that lead to, it leads to the pain provider who creates clarity for the person who has started to realize, well, what have I done? What is my part in this? And a man who can actually do something about it does something about it. And I've talked to some very determined men over the years, and I've seen what the really male determination really looks like when he really cleans up his act and starts to really, get really clear about what he is doing and why he's doing it, and starts to change what he thinks, which is the beginning of every change.
Yeah.
Thinking has to change.
Yep, sure sounds like it. Thinking has to change and actions will follow.
Yes, but actions, we don't change actions first. We change thoughts first.
Gotcha. Change thoughts first, actions follow. So it sounds like there's a pattern there. So let's check out number 4. Your spouse announces that they want a divorce, but can't clearly explain why.
That's going to be chaos because a man does not know how to interpret everything that she's been saying, because she's been saying several things and he doesn't know how to make like he's not good with puzzles. He can't really make out the puzzle of what she can't explain. But what he does have he probably has a feeling, and the feeling is an ominous feeling that he's losing something. And what that means is he's losing her heart.
Yeah.
And that's really that's kind of the backstory of what scenario you just came up with. What's she doing? Well, she's actually giving him signs that he's losing her heart. Like in the front of the book, the Amazon feature where they say, read this, right? So you can read that first chapter just by going to the place of, like, look in the book.
Okay.
So the 26 signs of losing your heart. So those signs are signs that the heart's being lost, and when the heart's being lost, the marriage doesn't exist. So the marriage is only the heart. It's nothing else. It's not marriage licenses, and not legal. It's not like that's all counter stuff that we make in the physical world to keep the whole structure together. But that's not even a thing. It's the heart that keeps the marriage together.
Yeah.
Not legal documents and documentation.
Yep. That is for sure. That is for sure. And last up, number 5, you discovered that your partner's parents had a history of infidelity, and now the same patterns are showing up in your marriage.
Okay, so that's a moment of clarity, because you have to see the past to look at the present and see that they're connected. And that's a moment of clarity. Not a moment of clarity, not a moment of chaos.
Okay.
So that'd be my version.
Nice. So if we're going to look at these kind of scenarios in the future, it's probably best if we look at the past first before we move forward, right?
Yes. You got to look at the childhood to find out what does the present mean. Because there's a thing I teach in my course called the meaning and movie machine. The meaning in the movie.
Okay.
Now, what's the meaning and what's the movie? So first, the movie is what the 5 senses tell you. So if we didn't have 5 senses, we would not know we're living.
Yeah.
If we couldn't see, if we couldn't hear, we couldn't smell, if we couldn't taste, we couldn't touch. If we didn't have those 5 senses bringing us all this data, we would not know we were here.
Yeah.
Right? So when the 5 senses tell us there's a world, that's the only thing we have. We only know that the 5 senses are telling us about the world. Okay? So now what's the next thing we have to do? We have to create the meaning of what's happening. Right? Once we decide the meaning, once we decide what the movie means, the next thing that happens is we get a feeling. So meaning in movie makes a feeling. And once you get a feeling, you get a belief. And once you get a belief, you get an attitude. Once you get an attitude, you take an action. And there's where action is. See where action is? It's down at the end of the line. Right? But meaning in movie, the meaning in movie machine, I just talk about the most important part of the course is the meaning of the movie machine, because that's the center of the beginning of everything. And so when you're talking about clarity and chaos, you're really talking about situations where the meaning and movie have to come together. Because if something is happening bad in the movie, you have to decide what it means. Does this mean something good, or does this mean something bad? But goodness and badness, fear and love, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
You keep coming back to, this way or that way.
That would definitely be a great reason to make sure that everyone's on the same page whenever it comes to marriage, right?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of ins and outs on how people decide to get married, but the important thing is when you get married, you have to know that, what am I really doing here? I'm doing this because I've cleared the whole hurdle of chaos kid. She's not a chaos kid. So I got married a second time. And when I got married a second time, my wife has a father who left her. And so she was abandoned by her father. And her father left 5 children. And so, like little kids, he left 5 little kids because he was going through a midlife crisis. And he abandoned his wife. Right? And so I was not at a point where I can do anything about that at the time. Right? Because that's in the 1960s. But because of that abandoning, my wife is got the chaos of her father. But what she's got is the strength of her mother. This is a woman who was an engineer, and she was an engineer back in the days when it was all men. And she was an engineer who was very good with people. And she also had a house sitter who was like her mother. Yeah. And so she had a mother, and her mother was her father. And so that kind of balanced her out. But that scar of the father abandoning her is actually creating like a quirkiness about her. And I because I now know this story, I know this, I keep that in the front of my mind. That's a quirkiness that she has. And I gotta let that go. I can't hold on to that. That's a quirkiness that her father created, and for abandoning her, And now I realized, yeah, that's going to be here. That's something I got to live with that.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, it's good that you can see that kind of thing nowadays, and it's so good that you are helping people with this kind of thing in general, because marriage is just really tricky, and I think people need a lot more help with it from the outside sometimes than they let on. Or I don't know. I just think that marriage is one of those things that people need to work on a bunch, whether they think it's good or not.
Well, they have the idea, I don't want to be alone. They don't want to be alone.
Yeah.
And when they're alone, they don't like it. Doesn't feel good when they're alone. And some people really feel really bothered by the aloneness a lot.
Yeah.
And some people are really struggling with it, right? But the people who really struggle with it try to do something about it. They try to go date and find people, and that's why there's Tinder and Match and all the crazy things, right? Because they don't want to be alone.
Yeah.
And so when we're talking about a long-term committed marriage, of loyalty and commitment, you've got to have something inside your subconscious that says loyalty and commitment and sticking to it and keeping your promises. This got to be a real thing that's really in here. It's got to be a part of me.
Yeah.
It's got to be something that I love, something I've thought through. What do I believe? Why do I believe it? Why do you believe in loyalty and commitment? You don't forget the whole marriage vow thing. Just loyalty and commitment. Do you believe in loyalty and commitment? And if you do, why do you believe it? What is the reason you believe it? Can you explain it? Right? Can you explain why you believe in loyalty and commitment? Right? Because that's what women want. Women want loyal men.
Yeah.
They want guys who don't cheat on them and they don't look at other women. They want women, men who actually dwell on them and make them the most important person. That's what a woman wants. Yeah. Right? And every other thing is a distortion to that story. And they don't want to look at the idea that, women want a loyal and committed man. But women love commitment. It makes them feel very secure.
Yeah, that is for sure. I think safety and security is the number one, as I was told before, and now I'm figuring out that that's pretty true. But with that being said, Larry, you've just shown us how even the toughest relationship moments can either spiral into chaos or become windows of clarity. And that is exactly why we're recognizing you today with the honorary title of the Marriage Mindset Maverick, because you've taken the hardest personal experiences and turned them into a map for others to find their way back to love. So,
thank you.
Of course.
Thank you, Keegan. That's really good.
No, I appreciate it. And thank you for just being on the show. But I've got to ask, do you think that we could get you back on in the future so we could dive into either more of your books or how to help marriages with more defined ways, maybe more expanded scenarios or something?
So I discovered there's a thing called soft-hearted men and hard-natured women. And soft-hearted men, that's what I am. Hard-natured woman was what Marcia was. So I wrote a book called Soft-Hearted Woman, Hard World. It's called Soft-Hearted Woman, Hard World. And that's a book that is all about soft-hearted women. But it turns out that women don't want to read it. Soft-hearted women don't want to read that book because they don't think they need it. They're kind of like pretty content being soft-hearted, and they don't want to learn about it. But it turns out the audience for that book turns out to be hard-natured women who are married to soft-hearted men. Soft-hearted men really care about what everybody thinks of them, and they don't want anybody to think badly of them, and they don't want everyone to look bad. When they want divorces, they always try to look good all the time. So they try to be really good dads and everything. And so that's how soft-hearted men behave, right? So these hard-natured women like that book because it's helping them, like they read the book that's written for soft-hearted women and they try to apply it to their soft-hearted men. So that was a book that was a little off target.
I mean, there's only one way to find out these kind of things, right? Is through a little bit of experimentation.
Yes, that's right. Yes, I'd love to come back.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate it, and I've got one more question for you, if you don't mind.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. So, Larry, the name of this podcast is Retrieving Sanity, and we explore how all facets of living life impact mental health. Looking at the incredible motley adventures of your life, what does retrieving sanity personally mean to you today, and what's one practice or perspective you believe is crucial for anyone on that journey?
So if you're retrieving sanity, that says that you're in your right mind. So if we think in terms of a wrong mind and a right mind, Uh, and so I talk about a wrong mind because a wrong mind is the wrong-minded life of the ego. Everybody's for centuries they've talked about the ego as really bad, right? And because the ego is nothing but trouble, right?
Yeah.
Because it's always looking at the fear side of everything, right? And so if you're to get into a place where you can have sanity, your sanity would come from losing your ego. When you lose your ego, you're free from being insane, because the ego is insane.
Okay.
So nothing good has been written about the ego, and so when we talk about insanity or getting to sanity, what makes a person sane? Less ego makes a person sane.
Gotcha.
The less ego a person has, the more sane they are. The more ego they have, the more insane they are. More wrong-minded, more ego. More right-minded, less ego.
That actually makes a whole lot of sense that I never really put together before. So thank you for that, Larry.
Thanks.
Yeah, for sure. And with that being said, I really, really appreciate you being on the show. It was super awesome hearing all about your adventures and everything that is what it is to help restore marriages and figure out a little bit about myself in the long run too.
Okay.
So, go ahead.
Thanks, Keegan. I hope to hear your story.
Yeah, for sure. We will get it out there, and we're going to have you back on the show in the future, so we'll be able to explore all about it. But everyone out there, thank you for listening to Retrieving Sanity on WDJY 99.1 FM. This has been Keegan, and this has been Larry, and we're just here to let you know that you gotta love yourself, try to love others if you can, but you gotta love yourself first, and we will see you next week. So, till then, much love.